Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's happening, my friends? Welcome to the Just Grow podcast. So pumped to have you here on this particular episode. This is an exciting episode because this is with my good friend, David Navarrete. So, quick story about David is we had a great podcast episode. One of the first episodes that I even made here at Just Grow, right? And he dropped a bomb on me during our episode. He actually shared something he'd never shared before. It was an extremely vulnerable share that he made on the podcast. So if you would like to learn a little bit more about what that was, I strongly recommend that you go back to one of the first episodes of Just Grow and go listen to exactly what he shared on that. He alludes to it a little bit on this particular episode. But the thing that I want to share is the quote that he said is that the person that you're with should feel like the most important person in the world, especially when you're by yourself. And that just really opened my perspective and opened my eyes to staying present and being right there in the moment. Just as I'm recording this, I'm here in the moment much more because I have that awareness. And I think if more people had that awareness of being present in the moment, this world would continue to become a much better place. So that's the kind of wisdom that you can expect from David Navarrete. Also, this was our first event of 2024. So it was in front of a live audience. We had a nice setup. David brought his mics and his camera and his lighting. It was really, really cool. And we got to be in front of a cool audience as well. So definitely not going to want to miss this episode. Make sure and listen all the way through. We cut it off at the end because we were doing some question and answers. We didn't have the mic set up for the audience so much. So bear with us on that. But besides that, I want to let you know that we are having another event on March 29th with Samantha Harper. You can go to justgrowpodcast.com. And when that is ready live, you'll be able to purchase tickets for that. And then we're about to launch a Vision Accelerator cohort, 12-week coaching program, but we decided to pause that, and we're actually working on a secret project. So if you would like to learn more about that, go to justgrowvisions.com. But without further ado, let's jump into this podcast interview with David Navarrete.
What up, brother? How's it going? So why don't you just give us a quick little introduction. Who is David Navarrete?
Yeah, so my name is David Navarrete. I own Moneta Design, a branding media agency, and I also own Arizona Filmmakers, which is a community for filmmakers here in Arizona. And like you said, I was struggling with depression for over 20 years.
And can anyone else relate to, I didn't even ask, but can anyone relate to holding on to things for a really long time? Yeah. So what happened? What changed or what?
Well, having my son changed. I knew I needed to make that change. I was holding on to things. It was all based on not feeling good enough, not having self-love or self-confidence, and putting a facade, not being genuine. And when my son was born, I knew I didn't want to lead by that example. And it was because I've had this since I can remember. I've always had, maybe it was a chemical imbalance, but I was digging myself a trench of negative thinking for the longest time. And when I was younger, I would tell myself, please God, if I'm struggling like this, make it for a reason. I think I was watching Passion of the Christ, and I saw he struggled. I was like, if I'm going to struggle, can you at least make that struggle be worth something? Can my struggles take away the struggles of other people? And I was a child. I was young. I think I wasn't even in high school yet thinking of this. And I would cry, but I would cry valiantly because I thought this is helping someone else. So I'm going to take it. And that got me through a lot of years thinking that, I'm suffering for someone else.
Dude, it's interesting you say that. I heard this at an event I went to, and it said, from a chemical standpoint, when you are thinking about yourself, you are releasing chemicals like, not the good ones,
The cortisol.
Yeah, thank you.
Medical.
Cortisol. When you're thinking about yourself, chemically speaking, you're not feeling good. But what you just said, and this is such a powerful exercise, I don't know if you guys ever heard this one, but when you start thinking about other people, it actually starts releasing the good chemicals. And so a really powerful exercise I learned is that, like, anytime you're not feeling good, a really, really powerful exercise is just simply send a voice note to someone and just share that gratitude, share that love. Because in order for you to send that, you have to generate that inside first. So it's crazy that you brought that up.
And there's something more interesting here, which is crazy to me, because I don't think most people think this way, but why don't we think of ourselves as someone else? You know what I'm saying? Because our present moment self isn't our future self. It's two different people. And what I discovered recording an event that I shot, it was a amplifier, some event that I went to go shoot. I was there and they were talking about how the struggles that you go through as a child help your future self. And it brought me back to what I said is, God, please let me suffer for someone else's happiness. And I drove home crying that day, because that little boy back then suffered for me today. And that, it was so emotional to think that I'm so proud of that little guy that went through all that was so brave, because now I'm living such a great life. If it wasn't for him, I would have not had my son. I would have had my beautiful wife. I wouldn't have this great life. And I'm so thankful for him.
That's powerful. I'm constantly reminded by this whole concept of treating yourself like your best friend. And it parallels to what you're saying. It's like, think about yourself as someone else. And I learned something recently. Shout out, her name is Mackenzie England. She's amazing. She shared this concept with me. She has a program, and the first thing that she has people do is date themselves. And so where this yeah. But it's interesting because, like, who's familiar with the love languages? I'll know that. And usually that's focused on, like, when you're in partnership and you're like, oh, what's your love language so I can give that to you? But she changed my perspective on that and says, figure out which your love language is and then just give that to yourself. Hey. And it's been powerful, dude. Like, my love language is like physical touch. So, like,
yeah, dude, that's perfect. I touch myself all the night. No, that makes sense. I treat myself way too much. No, I'm just kidding.
This is turning into a different type of podcast.
Hey, I think we're on the same topic.
But one thing I wanted to slip this in, it just came to me because another thing that popped up as you were talking is you almost like ask yourself a question to your younger self, like, what if I didn't show up this way? Like, how would he have felt about me? And a quote I heard recently, I've been investing into some new mentors in terms of, like, energetics, and it's absolutely changed the fucking game. And I'm getting her on the podcast too. It's going to be sick. But one of the things that she said, and it's been so powerful, and we did it on one of our coaching calls yesterday. She said that you can have anything that you want in the way that you want it if you're willing to ask the right question. And that's so powerful. I didn't realize how powerful it was until we got on this call, because, like, one of my clients, she's she's at a job right now and she's not happy about it. And she was kind of just in the muck of it a little bit in the call. And then we just had this massive breakthrough right at the end where I asked them, and I think this is a powerful question to ask guys. I was journaling on my way back from Virginia a couple of days ago, and I'm just really on this wave of questions. And so I asked myself, what's the best question that I can ask right now? What's the question that's going to help me go to the next level? And it just started changing my paradigm and how I think. So it's usually coming to the point of like, how would my highest self operate right now? How would I think right now? How would I see things right now? How could I show up better right now? And on our call, she was like, it just like kind of came out of nowhere. But she's like, how can I be more efficient at my job? And again, she was just hitting resistance after resistance after resistance. She asked that question, and then all of a sudden she was like, well, maybe I could like figure out some systems so that I have to work, I don't have to work as much. I don't have to work as long so that I can work on my side hustle a little bit more. And the paradigm shift that she had just out of like that, it was so crazy. So I definitely wanted to share that point, because if you ask yourself the right question, it can absolutely change the game. And you just get on that thought pattern, that paradigm where it's like, the better questions I ask, the better my life gets. And that's just like a really cool example.
Yeah. And to add to that, I think to have those kind of thoughts, it's outside the box thinking. You know, you're sometimes when someone is narrow-minded and they're just so focused on the problem that they can't think outside the box to ask different questions. How do you open up your mind and be present? And I think the answer is being present, right?
How do you stay present?
I have my ways.
Who has, sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
but like, who has challenges staying present? 40% of the room?
Yeah.
What's some ways that help you stay present?
So I have one way to remind me to stay present, and then I have my technique to help me get into being present. And the way to remind me is what I talked about on the last podcast is,
This is a banger.
I feel like, yeah, okay, there's pressure now. The most important person in the room is the person in the world. Yeah, the most important person in the world is the person you're with. And if you're by yourself, the most important person in the world is you. So that reminds me to stay present. And it's actually helped me network really well, because there's so many distractions when you're networking at networking events. But when you're just talking to one person, that person is the most important person in the world, and you give them your attention. And that helps you stay present. And in being present, there's so many benefits. It's like a superpower. And when I feel like I can't get present, I have too much on my mind. I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking about the past, and I'm thinking about, the other dimensions, whatever. I ground myself like we just did today. I focus all my senses on what's happening right now. And if it's not happening right now, it doesn't exist. And for meditation, I get present.
Yeah. Cool. What else do you want to talk about?
You know what? There's another thing, because I know you asked me earlier, what's that change that helped me realize that, get out of depression and all that stuff. And one of the biggest things that I didn't even think about is that my life coach said, you are not your thoughts. Which I was just so confused. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even know what to do with that information. Like, you're what? Okay. But afterwards I started thinking about it, and I started being aware of my thoughts, and I started noticing like, whoever the thought is, like, I know it's not me now, apparently, but whoever the thought is, why are you sabotaging me so much? Like, what are you doing to me? Like, okay, let's separate ourselves. And the next thing she told me, like, she tells me in increments so I can understand things. Your thoughts are a tool that you can use. And I'm like, okay, so this is like a pencil. This is any type of tool. A tool can serve you. So if I'm not my thoughts, I'm not gonna pay attention to the negative ones, and I'm gonna use my thoughts to serve me. And right then and there, I was like, okay, every New Year's resolution, I was like, I'm gonna change my habits. I'm gonna get on a diet. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm trying to change my habits, which don't work. I need to change my thoughts, the tool I use to create habits. And from there, anytime I had a negative thought, I knew that it was an internal teacher saying that I need to fix something about myself. It's not negative. A negative thought isn't like a bad thing. It's just a teacher telling me, hey, I think you're struggling with this, or that. Let's give a little love to that.
Yeah, they're little cues.
Yeah.
To show you like where you're not free. Yeah. Another really powerful thing I've learned recently, and this is silly, but I've been on this wave of like, how can I laugh more? It's been good. I figured out it's fart videos, so if anybody wants some of that action.
Do we got any? Nah.
But it's something powerful that I've learned again from my mentor, and she says, how can you bring, when you have those negative thoughts that come on, how can you bring humor to it as quickly as possible? And so one of the techniques is just imagine that your thoughts, because ultimately your thoughts are just your subconscious teaching or talking to you. And one of the strategies is like, think about it as like a 3-year-old that's telling you a story, and like even put it in their voice. Like, oh, you're not good enough, David. David, you're not good enough. And it's just like when you utilize that and it's just like make almost a joke out of it, you're like, oh, well, that's not me.
Yeah.
I am detached from my thoughts. It's just these thoughts are coming out. It's a wild concept, but what you really understand, you have like some of those techniques to be able to like implement is powerful.
And the other thing too is like she simplified it so much that whenever you're having a negative thought, it's for, I think, 4 reasons. You're either thinking about the past, you're thinking about the future, you think you're not good enough, you don't have self-love, or you're not in line with yourself. And so what I had to accept is that I dug myself a huge 20 years of a hole. So accepting that, hey, I'm going to start this journey to, grow myself. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be just by changing my thought, because I'm already conditioned and programmed to think negatively. So what helped me is like, okay, just like I'm going to lift weights, I haven't been working out, I'm not going to get that 6-pack right away. I'm going to do the same thing with my mindset. And by being self-aware and knowing, okay, I'm always thinking about the past, regrets and stuff like that, or I'm always anxious because of thinking about the future, or I don't have self-care, self-love because I'm thinking negative thoughts about myself, or I do things because I tell people yes when I really mean no, and I'm not in self-alignment with myself. Like I do that all the time because of how I was raised. So now working on those 4 things has really helped me reprogram my brain.
I was curious, because this is actually a question that's popped up for me a lot, is you talking about, have this powerful coach that's been helping you a lot. How do you decide on who, like there's like coaches are everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a booming industry. Like how do you decide on who you want to learn from, or who you listen to?
Well, it's intuitive for me too. So I just intuitive, but this is the 2 ways I knew for sure. Number 1, she had 24 years of experience, and a lot of people, if they're that long, they must be doing something right. I'm like, okay, you've helped a lot of people. And then 2, she knew how to plant seeds in your brain without you feeling like restriction. So she'd be like, okay, so, I had a client once that used to think when she would walk in a room, she was so self-conscious that she would start to think that no one liked her. And you know what happened? She used to be a recluse and hide herself in the corner. And the thoughts that she was having had a physical reaction of her, closing off. And people started to feel like, she's weird. And so her thoughts, without even manifested the thoughts that she was thinking. And I was like, that sounds a lot like me. So without her telling me my problems, she was telling me a story, and that was the best way to coach me. So right then and there, I was like, okay, she's just getting in my brain. Like,
That's a mind trick.
because, yeah. So
Slipping in.
she really, it was a cool technique. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to start listening. Because the first day she was like, hey, just listen. I don't want to hear anything. Just listen. Because I was like, no, you know what? I think this helps me. If I think negatively about my business, I solve problems and I'm a better business owner. And she's like, no. Just don't talk. Just listen. I was like, no. Seriously. Like, I can solve people's problems and that makes me a better business owner because business owner solves problems and stuff like that. And she's like, no. You're going to find what to solve out of like just inspiration and ideas. So she really told me to like just shut up and listen first few weeks. Yeah.
It's a shame because, it's with coaches, but I just find that within conversations where we're having right now, like you're opening up my perspective, whether that's having a conversation with just a friend.
Yeah.
That can just give you some outside perspective, because the quote I'm constantly reminded of is that you can't see the label from inside the jar. And so that's why it's so powerful to surround yourself with amazing people to get that outside perspective. Look, I want to ask you this question. I've been asking this to a lot of people lately, because even what you said, even like what's helped you is getting in more alignment. And when I think of alignment, it's like having clarity of your vision, which is like one of the best questions that I often tell people is like, ask yourself constantly, like every day, what do you want? What do you want? You can't ask yourself that enough. Like, what do I want? What do I want? But I think maybe even one of the more powerful questions to that is, how do you want it to feel? So,
yeah,
I know you want success. I think I just want to know how do you want your success to feel?
I base it off of freedom. I'm big into just being able to do like whatever I want. I know my intentions are so pure and so altruistic, but I want to have the ability to do what I want when I want and whenever. If I have an idea in the middle of the night, I do it with nothing holding me back. And I think once I reach that point, I think I've reached success. When freedom
is free, you're feeling like an internal freedom, or like
all aspects of freedom, financial freedom, mental freedom, where it's like I don't have anxiety, I don't have any of that. Like, that's what I'm striving for, and that's my success.
Do you feel that the internal freedom leads to the external freedom?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you cool if I take you? Like, I love this exercise, and I think it'd be really powerful for everybody. So let's close our eyes, and we're gonna go with David's the freedom. We want to feel free internally. Okay. So I want you to imagine that you're getting in your dream car. Okay. You open up the door. You sit in. Get your tush nice in there. Yeah. Turn it on. You hit the push to start. The engine roars. You start driving. You're getting on this on-ramp. You start driving, and you realize that you're getting onto this highway. And you realize that's actually the highway of freedom. You set the intention that you wanted freedom, so now you're on this freedom highway. And maybe you're not going from 0 to 100 on the freedom highway, but maybe you're going from 0 to 1. Maybe it's 0 to 5. But you start with that intention, and what you'll notice as you're driving on this highway, you start looking up and you see the signs for more freedom. You see the exits for more freedom. Whether that's, hey, I need to go connect with this person. Hey, maybe I should pay attention to this podcast. Maybe I should go to this event. Maybe I should invest into this coaching. Maybe I should call my friend. I should call my mom. Whatever it is, like, it's because of the fact that you're on this highway, now you're getting all these signs to amplify your freedom. And what started as 0 to 1 or 0 to 5, now you're going from 5 to 10, to 10 to 20 to 50. And now all of a sudden you're feeling that internal freedom, at a very high level because you set the intention early on. And you guys can all open your eyes, but like that exercise was so powerful and helped me like realize the power with intention. It's like giving this, it's also almost this like tangibility to intention setting. But what you have to realize is that if you're not intentional about which highway that you're getting on, you're unintentionally getting on the fear highway, the scarcity highway, the lack highway. Again, like what we were talking about before, this world is just set up to program us for fear, scarcity, lack. And if you're not intentional about which highway you're getting on, it's going to be a tough road, right? But when we set those intentions early, it just keeps on building and building, because even what you're saying about thoughts is like our thoughts are either spiraling up or spiraling down based on the intentions that you set.
Yeah. Yeah, and intentions are incredible. And I think one of the things that people might mess up with is having attachments and not letting go of the attachments. Because, you know, just an example, building my community, I had the intention early on. I think it was 2 years ago. It was like, I was right here, I think in that seat telling Nico, hey, I'm going to create a filmmaking community and just have the intention. I don't know how, I don't know if it's going to succeed, but I have the intention. And obviously it was a success, but there was a lot of people in the industry that were way older that wanted to be the leaders. And they've actually told me, I don't think you deserve to be the leader. You don't have experience in the filmmaking industry as long as I do. You're the wrong person to lead it. And they said, the community needs to be like this, like this, like this. And they were attached to these attachments of how they think it should be. And that was their downfall. Setting the intention and letting go of attachments and just seeing how you get there, I think it's the right way. It's the right highway.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up. Who has challenges with letting go? Just a couple people, about half the room. That was a big one for me for a while, and it's still something I'm always navigating through. But something that's helped me recently was just realizing that pretty much everything in this world has an expiration date. And like it changes your perspective to realize that the only constant is change. And I've definitely internalized that a little bit more as of late. And I think death has really taught me that. Like when people transition and pass on, it shows you like life is fragile. But everything else, like even like, you know, I felt like I was getting attached to even this podcast and like having this attachment where it has to get bigger every time. Because that's kind of the trajectory. And it was like almost training me to feel that. Like the first event, we had 70 people. The next one had doubled. The next one doubled. We had 200 people in this room. Then we went to a bigger stage. And then we got more people in. And then we launched a company. And then we did all these things. And it just kept going and going and going. And I noticed I was getting really attached to it. I'm like, oh, the next one has to be bigger. The next one has to be bigger. And I had a coach. Wow, he hit me with a zinger. And he said, why are you building this? Like, is this like, so you get all this validation so you finally feel good enough? I'm like, shit.
It might be true or what?
Yeah, very likely. There's definitely pieces of it that I was like seeking that validation. And again, it's something I'm always navigating, but like to your point and just having that, again, paradigm shift of like realizing that nothing is forever. Everything is evolving. Everything's changing, whether it's friendships, intimate relationships, social circles, your podcast, like anything.
Do you feel like maybe some of the anxiety and like the stress is kind of melts away when you have that shift, you know?
Definitely. I mean, it makes it easier.
Yeah, because those attachments, like you're expecting, okay, I want the next event to be even bigger. But for example, Arizona Filmmakers, I want the next red carpet event to be more than 300 people this time or more of this. And originally my intentions were just to help connect a filmmaker with another filmmaker. So if only 2 people come that were strangers, compared to my 300 attendants, but they make a connection, I should feel great. I should feel like my intentions were, what I wanted to do happened. Of course, I'm not going to make any money off that event. I'm going to lose, but the stress of me feeling like it needs to be bigger is gone, and it just feels better. It feels better to do business that way.
Exactly. And when it feels better, people can feel that.
Yeah.
I even noticed that at some of my events. Like, I was super stressed at some of our events, and I know others were feeling that. And then that provided not as quality of an experience. And that's why I loved this event, because it was more low key. We didn't stress about it as enough. We brought it back into this room as opposed to the theater.
Yeah.
And we just kept it chill. And I felt so good leading up to this event, because like, think about it too. Like, life is creation. Everything is creation. And so and everything is energy. So whatever type of energy that you are putting into your creations, and whoever that touches, whoever that creation touches, people are going to feel that. So if you can decide on that feeling that you want to emanate through your creation, everyone else is going to feel that.
Yeah. And even, in that same realm, just like that girl who had those thoughts, had those feelings, and then manifested it through her actions without subconsciously. It's the same thing, like if we come in all stressed and everything, you guys aren't going to have a good time, and you guys are going to feel it. And before I said that, I was going to go, energy. You talk about energy. That was a segue, and now I don't remember what it was.
Well, you think on that, and that's why it's so important with people like Lindsay, is to like set that and ground people in. Because if not, like, again, we're being programmed to not be grounded. Like, everything is trying to distract us. There's so many different choices out there that's distracting us. So to set those, like, just ground in, it makes everyone present, especially for a conversation.
Yeah.
That the audience isn't involved with, they can lose interest really quickly.
Yeah.
But we've even had people that have said, like, I normally am looking at my phone like every 5 minutes, and we did an hour-long podcast, and they're like, I didn't look at it once, I didn't think about it once. Yeah. And that's the power of like really setting those intentions and grounding in. That's why we do that.
And then what I was going to ask too is, going back to depression and feeling like, there's just no way of getting out of it. Has anyone felt in their sad moments, when they were crying, when they were like really sad, and they're like, almost like you maybe probably know that you can get out of it if you truly wanted to, but you just can't, or you don't want to. Has anyone felt that? So I'm not alone. Okay. Cause sometimes I'm angry. Like, I'm so angry, and now I know that energy, can be transformed. It can't go away. So like, if you're angry, that energy can be happiness. You have the power to transform it. I don't know if, you guys know that. But sometimes it almost feels like I want to be angry because I'm not choosing to change it. So I don't know, just a topic to bring up. I haven't figured it out. Sometimes maybe it makes sense to feel angry. We are living to be in an experience, to live an experience. So maybe same way as like we go to the movies to see a scary movie, get scared. Maybe sometimes it's okay to feel angry and accept it. I don't know. There's a topic that
I love that you brought that up. Lindsay helped me with that a couple weeks ago. And I was like, I'm angry. She's like, good, be angry. Like, have it, like, and experience it. Experience your experience. That's the fullness of life. Like, being angry doesn't mean that it's like you're having a bad experience of life. Like, I say, you don't want to like stay in that and stay stuck and just forever. But like, all emotions are fleeting. Just experience them. There was a day, it was probably like 3 weeks ago, I was like, holy shit, I had every experience under the sun. I was like laughing, I was crying, I was yelling, I was quiet, like everything. And I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, I experienced life that day. And I think that's something to be said.
Yeah. Emotion.
Well, I definitely want to open it up because we've hit like 45 minutes right now. And again, there's not too much structure to these things, or we can kind of just continue to navigate it. But does anyone have any questions? And maybe not even questions, but even just input, anything on your heart that you want to share, anything that we can answer, then we can help you. I want this to feel like more of a conversation rather than us up here and you guys out there. It's like, let's connect. Because as you guys are thinking about that, one of the most powerful things, and this comes back to my whole thing about like the way of the world right now, I personally believe that if we are able to just have more respectful conversations, especially with people that have opposing views and opinions, that would clear up everything in this world. I brought some friends. One was from LA, he's Hispanic. One was from Maryland, he's Black. And I brought them here. And we were part of a mastermind. And then I had two other friends that were Caucasian and they were ex-cops. And I told Brian, who was African American, and I said, let's go have a conversation with them. He's like, fuck no. He's like, I don't do that. I was like, no, but like, let's go have a real conversation. Let's go talk. Let's be respectful. Let's share opposing views and let's just see it from the other side. Because what I see in the world right now is everyone.
So what to me said that was stringing him with them, like, needs to get in the line that he needed and then like that. And I thought to do work. So you have to want to work. You also have to feel worthy to see people bought themselves throwing their worthiness all time to all time. You could have reason there's just programming and comments. And so up leveling all of that and for you know, just around them all that has been.
Yeah.
He was it, and it goes through us. It was supposed to accept that loud non-laws from leading their COVID depression, right? When there's under 20 years. And nothing pressures up real and is very real. But healing, not stay in that field, right? You have to stay in the stay depressed. You know, say coming an anxious person, if you tell himself an anxious person, you're like you are anxious person, it's how you identify. So what do you want? You can look up for you has that okay, well makes you feeling well it's high. So in meditation is going to deny it connecting back to myself because the way I describe it is prayer soft.
Amen.
Love me, you know, like hands, like this storage is so lovely.
Yes.
You know, well, they're not legal. And I think the about to show the noise that's off where it is. When they tap in their cells and shut in, you're moving, that has to be, yeah, I have that daily practice. Or maybe back to the vision, right? If you're vision, but I'm like this. Yeah. So you don't shit.
Proud of you.
Congrats. Congrats.
Great share.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
What is the difference when it's being like, so it is here's like a social media platform that everyone has a voice that podcasts and real of something you share. How do you create the difference between like analysis and noise?
Mm-hmm.
And how like actually ways that can pass through like all the way there at the button that feels like it's actually trying to get the likes or really some different state.
I can go.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think it really comes down to like knowing your truth and knowing your why. I'm big on that. Like obviously we do a lot of vision work. We help people get very clear on who they're becoming, why they're becoming, what are their core values. A lot of people, I truly believe that most people have no fucking clue on what they want because they don't know who they are, because they don't know what they value. And values are just sustained priorities. So getting clear on who you are, why you're doing what you're doing. And again, I bring it back to the intentions. Now, like over the last like month and a half-ish, every time I create a piece of content, I'm like, how do I want people, what do I want the experience to be? How do I want people to feel when they digest this content? And that's helped me immensely. So I think it's knowing your truth and knowing who you are and then speaking that truth. Because if you're not speaking your truth, who's speaking? Yeah, I heard that recently. I was like, that's wild.
Yeah.
If you're not speaking your truth, then it's someone else.
Who is it? Who is it? No, yes. So your question was like, how do you break through the noise? Like, are you trying to put out content that can like break through the noise, or?
Yeah, they're like every good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to stop. Sorry, are you okay if I want to stop you right there? I want you to be very careful with your language. Language is an indicator of what your thoughts are, and whatever we think, we manifest. Right? It all starts with our thoughts. So you said all therapists sharing their shit. What if we change that dialogue? Like, what's a different way that you could speak that? Because as I speak, I create. I got this tattoo, abracadabra. It means as I speak, I create.
Anyone want to chime in? What were you going to say?
You like every up.
Yep.
So if you're thinking for people, know you, and look for free things, that things, those things, sharing to this people others in the past. It's like, how can I minister to the people there to make that? And it's like, you are first to your client. And, it's matching it. Then you're constantly dating with everybody. And I mean, but, and yeah, sugar and bombing that is one of the key that I can deal with. And yeah, right. You're really having she's your truth again, and I come back to it. It will take long as people will get in God. And yeah, and apologize.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this. If you're putting out content and you want to break through the noise, focus on storytelling. Storytelling at its basic root is just giving people an experience. And that is making people feel an emotion to another emotion. That's what storytelling is. And that's why people say we need more songwriters that are storytellers. Like, how do you tell a story through music? Do you tell like, oh, once upon a time there was a Joe and no. It's like someone makes you feel something when you're listening to it, or an art piece makes you feel something. So when you're putting out content, people want to feel an experience. So telling a story through your content, whether it's like a strong hook, and then you shoot them with something that they really need to listen to and make it interactive, like that's how you break through the noise with your content.
I agree. The storytelling is huge. And then the other flip side of that, not the flip side, but the added to that, and this is definitely the wave I'm on lately, and I'm going to share a little bit more about it. I'm going to release some stuff coming up, but it's honestly, it's the energetics behind content too. Like, how do you want people to feel when they watch your content?
It's valid. That's super valid. Yeah.
Parents ask the order we wet order we this.
I know these are like, I'm hitting you with some questions right now, but these are just things maybe to start thinking on a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I thank you for sharing that. I feel that. So take that approach. Like, honestly, like when I post in content now, I'm like having a party. Like, that's the one today. The one today.
Yeah.
I forget what it was like. You beautiful bad bitch. Again, you so. I'm like, this is hilarious, and like having fun with it. But like other times, I'm like, I posted one other thing was, it was just like this inspirational quote that I heard. And that was the day when I just like felt everything. And it was partly, I made that post and we just sat there and cried for like 10 minutes. So if you want people to be emotional, like get in that state, feel that, because they're going to feel it too. Yeah. Thank you.
Any more questions? Did you have?
Stop in these days, he bought time and shit, and then he like, and then I'm telling that so lazy. It's in like, and then when they found it,
Yeah.
now I'm self-aware at the city, so was even afraid, like being step back and doing, seeing myself not out, and I need to see down that path, what I'm like to saying the shit.
Yeah. It's like a choice, you know. It's like, okay, I'm hungry and my sadness is not, you know, making me get up and get food. All right, it's time to change. But it's like, you know what, I'm feeling it and I'm gonna take a bath and just feel it. You know, it's a choice, just because I mean that's how I approach it. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get out of it, so I was wondering if anyone's figured that out.
I think acceptance is powerful. Again, I'm just like, I'm so excited about just continuing my journey into the work of energy, because it's like, it's that thing that you can't see. And until you like clear the interference, as what one of my mentors talks about, like it's hard to tap into that. But once you are, you get it. And so there's this it's thing called the scale of consciousness. It's by David Hawkins. He wrote the book Power versus Force and the Art of Letting Go. Great resources. But he has this thing called the scale of consciousness, and it gives the frequency of all of the emotions. And so shame and guilt are at the bottom. So the more that you're like beating yourself up, the more you stay in those heavy emotions and you stay stuck, and it's hard to get out of them. But what you can do, I think that are two of the best ones to focus on are acceptance and courage, because those are, I don't know the exact numbers, but they're like 3/4 the way up. And you can instantly change when you just accept your circumstance, accept your feelings. If you're angry, accept that shit. Experience your experience. But then again, having that courage. Like when I get up and speak, I'm nervous. I'm really fucking nervous. But once I get into it, I'm like, I'm feeling good. And I think it comes back to that is because I'm stepping into courage, and it just instantly raises my frequency. So I don't know if that was like a direct question, but yeah, no, I appreciate that. But yeah, I just think, again, energy it's powerful once you really like tap into it.
Both of them to be
Right?
Feeling it.
police or mean that, right? Like the
Yeah.
light your people that ain't on this Thursday.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Definitely. Thomas?
You sound like you need the courage that you believe that
No.
you're something that's the way you do.
No.
Or scared or doing the hard days. But doing the hard days is where the true growth lies. And once you have the courage, you step into that opportunity, the door's open up and you waiting for this. But until you knock on that door, you don't read that.
Amen. Dude, it's crazy. McBurney sent me this thing I saw yesterday, and it said that's actually backed by science now. They said there's a part of our brain that starts getting bigger and stronger. I forget what the terminology is. It was Andrew Huberman, so obviously it's truth. I was thinking about this, like he could start just making up shit and everyone would believe it.
I feel like I would, honestly. You're throwing out all these things.
But he talked about that. He talked about like when you don't want to do something, but you do it, it strengthens that muscle, it strengthens your brain. And so like doing hard shit actually like has a lot of scientific backing to it.
For me, I want to make a clarification on that, where it's like doing something that you're afraid to do is healthy, but if your actions are motivated by fear, then it's unhealthy. And again, I'm not an expert. I don't think anyone on this earth is an expert, but like actions motivated by fear. For example, how many of us are entrepreneurs? Yeah, okay, all right. How many of us feel like we have to keep moving, have to keep building, have to keep doing something, or it just doesn't feel right? Yeah? And I've had that feeling, and I think it's because I won't get there yet, but I feel like I'm not good enough if I'm not building or if I'm not doing something, you know, I feel like I'm not good enough. So I'm going to keep doing great content, great events. I'm going to keep doing these awesome things so that I can validate myself and say, I am good enough. And so I'm doing those things out of fear of not being good enough. And so now I know I got to change that, you know. But I do think, yeah, doing something that scares you is very healthy. Any other questions?
How much like depression, like ages where it's like down and out of that, you feel like comes from a lot there, and you see the lady where the light and how it should where.
Where do you think it starts?
So the question is, I just want to repeat it so I can make sure I have clarity around it. So the question is, how much of this, the anxious thoughts and the anxious feelings, the depression, comes from a place of not being clear on what you want?
I have an opinion, but go ahead.
I think it has a lot to do with it. I was really inspired by your post, and you went to California and you were just out there in nature around the ocean. I think that's so powerful, and I love getting out in nature because, again, like that exercise that I did with the highway, especially for this year, my word is peace. My emotion that I just want to like be in a state of peace. And so my highway is peace. And so then like those exit signs are like, okay, how can I put myself in environments that add more peace to me? And so one big thing for me is like, I do Sedona like once a month. I'll go up there just by myself. Most of the time, sometimes people come with me, but like, I just hike up. I'm having a blast. Sometimes I get a little high. I say, hey, how are you? To pretty much everybody I meet. I'm just cracking up. I'm having a blast.
I want to go next time, man.
Come on, you guys can all come. But like, when I'm looking out into something big in the distance and you see these big things, and this is even what you were saying, is like, you start thinking a little bit bigger. And as you think bigger, you start, at least this is just for me, but I get more clear when I think big picture instead of the little nuances. Because Michael Law, he's still here. He dropped this one on me a while back. He said the shortest business plan in Japan, right? Japan. I messed it up on our podcast. I said China. Sorry. It was like 40 years. Is it 40? It was 100. Right. Well, it's long, right? And so what I've noticed is when I get stuck in those anxious thoughts or not, just feeling off, it's that I'm getting thrown around in the emotions in the day to day. But if you look at your life as almost like a Forex chart or like stocks, right? That's going up, right? If you scale out, like, again, this is another thing that I've learned, just kind of boom, just keep bouncing up. So that's my perspective.
Could I put something to the test?
Because this is your podcast.
All right. I'm going to put something to the test because my life coach told me that, and it's going to be interactive, that the reasons why you're having negative thoughts is for those 4 reasons. So I want to put it to the test and see if anyone is willing to be vulnerable today and tell me a negative thought that you were having. Maybe it's today, maybe it was last week, or maybe it was yesterday, and see if it doesn't fall into one of those 4. If it doesn't, I'm going to book a session with her and call her a liar. If it does, I feel a little more confident in what she's teaching me. Does that work for you guys? Okay, who is willing to go first? Be vulnerable. This podcast is about being vulnerable and having the courage. All right.
It's come.
Okay. Which one of the four do you think it falls under? Not feeling good enough, thinking about the past, thinking about the future, or not being aligned with yourself? All four. How so? Which one? Let's see. What thoughts?
Let's say what I have to say. I'm not anything not well.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe you're thinking about what you've put out before and it hasn't hit.
Looking at serving at others, like, and looking at pastors, it's a neat, like, I might call it the need, and is why that I ended up, like, bump on my bike, and, whatever.
Yeah. I want to say it's like almost like just feeling like you're not good enough. And that takes, building confidence and building self-love. Mostly, I feel like it's mostly self-love. We don't have the answer for you right now, but we figured out you landed in. Anyone else want to come in and prove me wrong? Any thoughts that you, all right, Devin.
One of the is like my eldest I be so books and they barely think about the picture let's they're about this the crop but it's arguable was that is like so stress on piece that wasn't around a lot on the situation it's like stress out freezing blood pathetic or clear. And so mine and that, I think that the anxiety was in state house
Future.
Sure. But I was afraid.
Sure. So the answer for you was to be present in the moment and see what you had to do then.
This has to leave myself less,
Anyone else? I need someone to prove me wrong.
you do something that is stop her.
Oh, that's not being in line with yourself. I know that for sure. That's what I struggle with. Hey, what was the example?
The funny story that I mean, I was a little top of it, and where he's just like, that step like being by, I mean, it was more like for God, because your ass and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Without lying myself, but it's just like, maybe you should have made correct decisions. Also, like, I lot of opportunity, like, or say version.
Yeah. The last one is more of like not being true to yourself, like not feeling like you are being honest with yourself and not, I think that's how it's kind of.
So I feel like it's not being honest with myself. Well, I know I work, but it's like, I feel like there's other sort of factor place on you that I set a bit in success so that when I go it's like the big word and I want to stick around things that I hate for like I don't know if they scared day that it's almost like a fear
That you won't succeed or something?
they fear and say that and say to me it doesn't work out. It's a scary thing that you got that they pop up.
Yeah.
To be able to have every single day that I know I'll push check up with you every single day. Aaron got the call. And the other submission, do that, make a fun action.
Yeah.
Can I share maybe a different perspective? So I think fear is a great driver, and I think it's like it's like a spark, or like what I feel like I even heard some like metaphor with this. It's like high octane fuel. I think that's what I heard. And that's great. And it can really drive something. Like, let's talk about it like launching spaceships, right? They need that. They need fear in the beginning because that's what like skyrockets them. But it's hard to sustain on fear. So I think it's a balance. Fear can drive you a lot. I know you mentioned Hermosi, and I love him. He shares a lot of great stuff, but even he talks about like sometimes when you don't know what you want, it's more about just like getting away from what you don't want. But eventually, like, you're going to hit a point, like, I feel like it's almost kind of like this timeline of where like maybe fear and getting away from what you don't want is like that driver first, but eventually you're going to reach a point where it's like, all right, now I want to like operate from faith. I want to operate from love more and stand in that. Because, and the reason that I say that too is because I got a really great opportunity a couple years ago that even inspired me to do this, where I basically, it was very similar setting to this, about half the size, but it was with Russell Brunson, who he's the founder of ClickFunnels, who I think it's like a $150 million company now. And he was saying pretty much the same exact thing. He's like, you always have the choice to choose from a place of fear or faith. And so again, I'm not discounting fear, because I think fear is amazing, just what you talked about, like feel the fear and do it anyways and get into that flow and have the courage to get out of that fear. But I would just be cautious to like just constantly stay in that fear, because again, from an energetic standpoint, that's wearing heavy on the gears. Just my thoughts.
Cause I see the guy they still spot that on the date, I see that you're right.
Something that always, and Devin, this is going to be about you, something that always fascinated me while being right beside you while you're building Arizona Entrepreneurs is that you jumped into things with just faith. He would start planning his events. He would start doing these ideas without even knowing how it was going to happen. And came from a place of anxiety and worry, and it always worked out. I don't know, it just always worked out. And I started to notice that I operate I don't do things, or I would prevent myself from doing things if I didn't have the whole blueprint in front of me, because from my past experience, if I'm not doing it a certain way, and I'm not hitting each milestone, and it's not happening the way I thought it was going to be, I would bad talk myself. I would start saying like, it's not going well. I would self-sabotage myself. So with Arizona Filmmakers, I tried it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to plan all my events without even knowing any details, and the idea, the intention is there, just the intention, and we'll see where it's going to take us. And each event is sold out. Each event is like just a banger of an event. And my team tells me like, hey, who's this, who's that for the event? And I'm like, we're going to figure it out, but here's the flyer, start promoting it, and we'll figure out the details later. And going into doing things with faith, because I've built up that confidence of it'll work out, I think really helps when you're taking that leap of faith, is building the confidence of it's going to work out because I've done it in the past. And if it didn't work out, it's probably because you're bad talking yourself through the whole process.
And
It was too long, man, to be, it's gone out there, it. You know, the thing and this stuff, you just understand this, and see myself on operating my head, like, so they're going to let her. And they talk our states with the kind of nation and love. And so, the operating to your head, the always done, and the task that first should be for me and thought.
Yeah. No. We operate from our heart.
so I think we'll start kind of wrapping this up, and I definitely want to get like the room back out so we can kind of start networking, because there's some amazing people here, and I want to edify a few of them in the room here in a second. But so David and I, we both have a vision, and we also have another step that you guys can take. Are you guys cool if we kind of like share what's next on our docket? Cool. Awesome. So as I shared before, one of the big things that's driving me right now is just like bringing rooms like this together, because I think that these conversations, these rooms are powerful. And so I was actually challenged by one of my great friends who's just incredible and is a really big thinker. He's in the cannabis space. He's bought and sold like 12 different companies. He works with money that I can't even understand. And I told him that I was going to start throwing events again. And I was like, I think we're going to start them small and just like kind of build up. And he's like, fuck that. Go big. He's like, what's the vision? And ever since I've started this, the vision has been to do a stadium event. And so we were at a Christmas party. And then all of a sudden, like, we had like 6 guys around. They're like, okay, like what, like, we need to set the date. We need to set the location. We need to like actually start putting this in place. And so Chase Field in the next 3 years, I'm setting that intention right now. And the big reason on why I'm doing this is I want to put together the biggest mental health event ever and bring these type of conversations to a big audience, like the massive change with that. And so like that's the big picture vision for me. And that's what's guiding everything right now. Now, with that said, is as I've been mentioning, like with the energetics, and then we talked about like vision work, we do these things. I know some people are familiar with our thing. We have a thing called vision videos. I got a few clients in the room, but those things are powerful. I don't really have the space to like dive into all of that right now. If you guys are interested in that, obviously let me know. We have some more ways you can get involved in that. But what I've realized, something that has been very powerful and very helpful for me, especially recently, which I just feel like I'm definitely on a new wave lately, is there's 4 components, and it all falls under the woo and the do. Like that's the new messaging for everything that I'm doing, because the business industry has been primarily dominated by the masculine energy, structure, systems, one avatar, like boxed in. And I felt very confined by that, but it does work, right? You have to have systems. Systems create consistency. And so then there's the woo side. There's the meditation, the energetics, the feeling good, the faith, right? The mindset, the subconscious work. But I feel like the place that I'm really coming into alignment is marrying the two. And so that's my whole concept, the woo and the do. So the woo and the do consists of 4 different things. 1 is clearing energetic and subconscious blocks, because if you have those, and we all do, until you clear those out, nothing else really matters, because even what Michael was talking about last night at their event, everything is controlled by your paradigm, and that is your subconscious beliefs, traumas that you went through, everything that has happened to you in your life. So until you clear that out, everything else is a little more challenging. And so I've been learning some stuff that is next level, where it's like basically just clearing that shit out quick. And it's really powerful. So that's step 1. Step 2 is getting really clear on why you're doing what you're doing, who you're becoming, and really like understanding that clarity around who you are, who you're becoming, therefore you know where to go. The next one is systems. And I'm really passionate about this because, you know, Michael's building the same thing, is like until you have systems and processes, even if it's for personal development, which that's so powerful, it creates consistency. Until we have systems and processes, we don't have consistency. And we've been building we have this new thing, I've told a few people about this, but it's called a vibrational KPI sheet. And it marries the two of the woo and do perfectly, because it like turns green when you're doing the things that you said you were going to do. It turns red when you're like falling off your habits. It's really powerful, and I've just developed it recently. So that's like the systems part of it. And then the last part is social media. It's the strategy, it's the storytelling, but it's also the energetics. Like I said in the beginning, I have been learning from some people that are just taking a new approach to social media. And again, they're going from like 2,000 followers to 50,000 followers in a matter of days. This one of my mentors, she's literally grown 100,000 followers in less than 2 months. And I guarantee she's going to be at like 500K, 1 million here soon. And so I'm learning about that. And that's why my energy is different. That's